actions the Israelis are taking are not a victory. They are war crimes. Issuing Netanyahu's arrest warrant is not enough. His execution warrant must be issued.
بمباران خانه‌های مردم پیروزی نیست.
Bombing people's homes is not a victory. These fools should not think that because they bomb people's homes, because they bomb hospitals, because they bomb civilian gatherings, they have achieved victory. No. No one in the world considers this a victory. This is not a victory. These are not victories. The crimes of the Zionist regime in Lebanon, Gaza, and Palestine ultimately lead to the exact opposite of what they intend to achieve. Instead, they strengthen and intensify the resistance.
This weekend, Chabad Rabbi Tzvi Kogan's brutal kidnapping and murder in the UAE shocked and saddened the state of Israel. It was a monstrous act of terror that demands swift justice. Israel will use every tool at its disposal to ensure that those responsible, as well as their orchestrators, are brought to justice. None will escape. We deeply appreciate the cooperation of the United Arab Emirates in investigating this terrible crime. Together, we will strengthen the bonds of peace that the axis of evil seeks to destroy. Today, we must also address the ICC's shameful decision. However, just yesterday, Hezbollah launched over 500 rockets at millions of Israeli citizens. 500 rockets rained down on innocent families, schools, and homes, leaving millions of civilians scrambling for shelter. Yet, in the eyes of the ICC, it is the democratically elected leaders acting to defend their people who are somehow the criminals. By issuing arrest warrants for Prime Minister Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Gallant, the ICC has abandoned its mission of justice. It has reduced itself to a political weapon, targeting democracies while turning a blind eye to the atrocities of the world's worst regimes. This is not justice. It is diplomatic terrorism. Now Israel is the target. Tomorrow it could be any nation that values its sovereignty. The ICC's actions are a betrayal of the international system and a mockery of the principle it was founded to uphold. Also today, the world and the UN marks the International Day for the elimination of violence against women. Rather than advocating for the release of the 13 women being held by Hamas rapists, we must instead combat diplomatic terrorism. Liri, Karina, Shiri, Agam, Daniela, Judy, Romy, Inbar, Ofra, Neama, Doron, Arbel, Emily. We will never forget you, never abandon you, and we will never stop fighting for your release. Israel will not be intimidated or deterred. We will defend our people, we will fight for the freedom of the hostages, and we will stand firm against the forces that seek to undermine peace and justice. So we are moving forward on this front. As I said many times, our goal was very clear, which is to push Hezbollah north of the Litani River. We haven't finalized it, but we are moving forward. I assume that the cabinet will meet today or tomorrow to discuss it. And I think for us it's important what will happen after, that Hezbollah will not be allowed to come back to the fence, and we will do whatever is necessary to guarantee it. We learned the lessons from 2006.
United States remains opposed to proposals to annex the West Bank or construct Israeli settlements in Gaza, which, if implemented, would be inconsistent with international law, sow the seeds of further instability, and create new obstacles to Israel's full integration into the region. We are also deeply concerned by increasing extremist settler violence in the West Bank. Recent incidents include those in Jorat al-Kil, near Hebron, where Palestinians were attacked by scores of extremist settlers who damaged property, assaulted civilians, and released dogs to attack residents. In the Palestinian village of Jalud, south of Nablus, dozens of extremist settlers reportedly killed livestock, attacked homes, and set fire to vehicles. We are concerned increased attacks also are preventing Palestinians from harvesting their olive crops. Beyond causing intense suffering for Palestinians, these attacks threaten Israel's security, make the realization of a two-state solution more difficult, and undermine the prospects for regional peace and stability. The government of Israel must deter extremist settler violence and protect all communities from harm. This includes intervening in, preventing, and stopping attacks. We urge the relevant authorities to do everything possible to de-escalate tensions and hold all perpetrators of violence accountable, no matter the background of the perpetrator or victim. As Secretary of Defense Austin made clear to his Israeli counterpart, we are also concerned about Israel's decision to stop using administrative detention orders against settlers suspected of attacks against Palestinians in the West Bank. We will continue to use all tools at our disposal to promote accountability for those who further destabilize conditions in the West Bank and support extremist violence. Moreover, we recognize that the West Bank's economic stability is also critical to Israeli and regional security. For that reason, the United States strongly urges that Israel extend correspondent banking services by at least 1 year to prevent economic collapse in the West Bank, which not only jeopardizes Israel's security, but also regional stability. Colleagues, we've discussed Gaza at length, and so let me simply reiterate. The United States is doing everything possible to end the war in a way that secures the release of the hostages, surges humanitarian aid to Palestinian civilians, and ensures Israel's security. The Security Council has an obligation not to let Hamas off the hook. Not after the misery, death, and destruction they sparked 13 months ago. Hamas has cynically demonstrated that it prefers the war continue, including by rejecting multiple ceasefire offers and other formulas that would bring much-needed relief to Palestinian civilians desperate for an end to the fighting. We must not cave into Hamas's demands or allow it to dictate the course of events. Rather, we must increase pressure on Hamas to implement Resolution 2735 without condition and without delay. Toward that end, the United States last week imposed additional sanctions on Hamas political leaders and fundraisers. At the same time, Israel must take more steps to facilitate the humanitarian access and the sustained delivery of aid at scale. To restore the flow of commercial goods and to address persistent lawlessness that prevents aid from reaching Palestinians in Gaza. It's abhorrent that criminal gangs have been allowed to loot humanitarian assistance for their own ends. They are taking food and medicine out of the hands of Palestinian civilians, including children. Only after we reach a ceasefire agreement with hostage release consistent with Resolution 2735 will it be possible to chart a new path forward in Gaza that enables Palestinians to rebuild their lives free from Hamas's tyranny. As we have stressed, the UN is not the problem. Rather, it's part of the solution, and we join other council members in recognizing the risk and sacrifices UN staff are making daily to deliver aid. It's vital that Israel and relevant UN entities find productive and proactive solutions, including on regarding UNRWA, so they can get more life-saving assistance delivered to people in need. At the same time, the United States fundamentally rejects the International Criminal Court's decision to issue arrest warrants for senior Israeli officials. We have been clear that the ICC does not have jurisdiction over this matter, and we are deeply concerned by the prosecutor's rush to seek arrest warrants, as well as troubling process errors that led to this decision. Moreover, this decision does not make the pursuit of peace any easier. We have an opportunity for a political settlement that provides a better future for Israelis and Palestinians. But only if we pressure Hamas, and only if we do not waver in our commitment to a two-state solution. The United States will continue to support diplomacy on the ground and to encourage steps to alleviate the tremendous suffering of Palestinian civilians in Gaza who did not start this conflict and are relying on all of us to help.